Well, good afternoon and welcome back to another episode of Lounging with Ludlum. I'm your host, Ryan McCorkle, and I'm joined today by James Comstock. Today we have another webinar for you, and you know what that means, another new product. So today we're excited to introduce to you the Model 3000 and 3000i. Kind of want to preface this webinar by saying that this webinar is not going to be a complete all-inclusive look at the 3003, but this is really just to introduce the instrument to you. There's going to be some things that we probably won't dive into just because of the complexity of the unit, but we encourage you to send any kind of questions that you have. If we don't dive in too deeply on your specific question, send those to training@ludlums.com, where we're always doing more training videos, trying to help you stay up to date with all the products. But for time limitations, I want to jump right into this. James, thanks for joining me today. And let's get right into the 3003 that we have here today. If you can, just give me a little bit of an overview of the 3003, the main functions of that instrument.
Thank you, Ryan. The 3003 is a 4-detector instrument, one external detector with the capability of storing 4 particular detector settings. And the 3003i offers the internal detector in addition to the other 4 detectors that you have access to.
Okay, so the 3001 is a 4-detector system also. Can you tell me the differences between the two?
Yes, the 3001 is a 4-detector system. It has 3 modes of operation: rate, max rate, and a scalar count mode. It also has the ability to set for each detector. You can set a threshold level, but you can't really set a window. With the 3003i, we still have 4 detector settings. We've added an additional mode, which is the integrated dose mode, in addition to the other 3 modes. And we've also added a window feature. And we've actually got 2 internal hardware channels. And so by having threshold and window and 2 channels, we can actually work with alpha beta as well.
Okay. One thing I noticed playing with the instrument a little bit is that we did change the LCD screen a little bit. I noticed a little bit more information on this screen. Can you kind of go over what we changed on the LCD and the prompts that it gives you?
Sure. The LCD screen that's incorporated in the 3003 series, as well as the 3014 and the 3078, is a brand new screen for us. We've added some additional units, which includes becquerel per centimeter square, or which could also be 100 becquerels per 100 centimeter square. We also offer REM and REM per hour, which does mean that we will support neutron. We've added a new neutron icon to it, as well as we've added a few additional alert messages, loss of count, overrange, so that way you don't have to try to decode what's actually on the screen. Text message will come up for you. Plus, we do have 3 alarms available per unit, per detector, per mode. And by doing so, we want to let you know on the screen which alarm is occurring: alarm 1, alarm 2, alarm 3.
Okay. On the 3003, is it also going to have logging capabilities?
Yes, it has logging capabilities exactly like the rest of our 3000 series instruments, capable of holding 1,000 records internal into the instrument.
Okay, can you kind of go on and kind of tell us about the handle, the buttons on the handle for the logging?
Yes, because there's so many new features that's going to be available in this instrument, we wanted to expand upon the buttons that we have, whereas a 3000 will have 4 main buttons as well as a logging button on the handle. We've added a couple additional buttons onto the handle, which includes a programming feature, which lets you get into the setup menu, as well as an ACK and a reset on the handle, so you can do it real quick without having to reach down. You can just do it from the handle, in addition to the log. So all total, we've got now 7 buttons on the instrument, and each button actually is set up so it can have 3 different functions assigned to 3 different levels. So we will have 3 different levels for the buttons. The first one's about after 100 milliseconds, then 1 second, 2 second. You'll hear a beep as it hits each level. And by using that, the buttons on the handle and the buttons on the instrument, you can actually manipulate the instrument.
Can you log in all the different modes, or is it just a specific mode that you can log data in?
You can log in all 4 modes of operation. We have 3 different modes of logging. We have a basic mode of logging, which is you press the log button and it logs what's on the screen. And that's available in rate, max rate, integrated dose. In scalar count mode, you press the log button to start your scalar count, and at the end of the scalar count, then it will take a log. We have an additional mode of operation which allows you to do essentially the same thing. You press the log button to log it, but at this time you can also select your location that you want to put in. So you can store 250 locations internal in the instrument, and so you can assign a location to each log event that you record. Then there's finally the third mode of operation, which is logging at a predetermined time that you can enter into the instrument so that it will log each of those events. And when it's logging those events, once you get into the scalar count mode, we're only really interested in getting logs while the count's occurring. So you'll have to wait until the count starts. The only time that mode 3, where it's doing the auto logging, is if you have an infinite count time set up for your scalar count. So if it's just counting continuously, then it will just log every so often. We've done testing where we set it up to log every 30 minutes and ran the instrument for a couple of days.
Okay, let's get into a little bit on the internal detector. I do like the feature where it's constantly running, depending on whatever detector you have selected, that internal detector is going. But can you kind of go over with me what detector we have inside there and what other detectors we might be able to put in there?
Yes, we currently have a GM tube inside the instrument. It's similar to our 133-2. We've got it peaked right now at 2 R per hour. In special cases, if you work with us because of you might be able to peak it a little bit higher. We are also looking at other capabilities of adding maybe a little small scintillation detector internal to it. We have added a threshold and a window capability, so if we want to go ahead and move in that direction, we have those capabilities. And we're going to be introducing new instruments with those detectors in it, so you can get like a model 3003/2/4 to go along with our other instruments that we make.
Okay, and then I did notice when you do switch over to the internal detector, it automatically goes into the integrated dose mode. Is it fairly simple to go into a dose rate? Is there a reason that we did that?
We went ahead and set it up so whenever you're running the internal detector, most people were interested in the integrated dose. They just wanted to press and go in and look at the detector, and you can do that by pressing and holding the detector button for 2 seconds, 3 beeps, and it switches over to the internal detector, and it immediately goes into a dose. So you can actually see your integrated dose. And from there, you can press your mode button and be able to switch through the other available modes. It, just like all the external detectors, has the capability of having 4 modes of operation, and you can configure the instrument as to as few or as many of those modes as you want on both internal and external.
Okay, and so let's get into the battery life a little bit. I know there's a lot going on this instrument. It's a pretty complex instrument. What kind of battery life should we expect on 4 AA batteries?
We've got 4 AA batteries, approximately 3,000 milliamp hour. We're running about 175 hours right now. We've been working to try and improve upon that. There are ways that you can actually improve battery life by making some adjustments to the backlight settings, to how bright your LEDs are displaying, and we've actually tweaked it up to over 225 hours.
Okay, can you use rechargeable batteries with this one?
Sure. If you purchase any AA batteries, rechargeable batteries, you can put them in the instrument. We don't have a charger built into the instrument at this time, so you just need to use your own external charger. Take out the depleted batteries, put them into your charger, put in a fresh set of batteries, and you can continue running.
Okay, and I think one of the big things that I've heard lately is talking about Bluetooth. Is this one going to be Bluetooth capable, or are we going that way?
Yes, we are working at adding Bluetooth. I am working on that right now. Part of the thing with the Bluetooth is we do have so much more information in this instrument, and because of that, we've tried to include that information as it's being sent over to our Lumic Linker app. And that's caused a little bit of a headache for us, but I've got it working right now. We're very close. I'm trying to finalize a few loose ends to make sure everything's working perfectly before we get into the hands of our customers. But it should have Bluetooth and should have it pretty soon.
Okay, and you mentioned the Lumic Linker app. Is that how you get the data out of the instrument, that any of the logs that you have?
Yes, that is one way. If you want to do live streaming, you can connect up, enable the Bluetooth, connect to our Lumic Linker app, which you can put onto any mobile phone or tablet that has Bluetooth capability, and you can actually send a live stream information over to the Lumic Linker app, and it can interface with Rad Responder to log your information, or it has the capability now to actually save that information into a log file that can later be transmitted via email to the location of your choice.
Okay, let's say someone doesn't prefer to have the Bluetooth. How do they get the data out once they have some log data?
Once you go ahead and get the log data into the instrument, there's 1,000. I said there can be 1,000 records into it. Using our data logging software, you can connect up to the data logging software and pull the logs out of the instrument, erase what's currently in the instrument, and also do some additional configuration through that software, and then you can store those to a file.
And that's done like the other 3000s through the USB port?
It's used through the USB port, and just using our HID protocol, and it'll pull them into it, and then it'll save it in the software in the instrument or in your computer in a comma separated value that you can pull into like Excel or something if you want to manipulate.
And then I noticed there's some options on the data sheet as far as true RS-232 and a headphone jack. So those are other options you can get.
Yes, headphone jack is available on this instrument as well as it is on our other 3000 series instruments. We do have two versions of serial communication. One we refer to as a 3.3 volt TTL level, and what that actually does is it has a port on the instrument. It comes out, and using one of our cables, it converts it over to a USB connector that plugs into your computer, and then your computer sees it as a serial port, a COM port. You could also get it in a true RS-232 mode, where the cable comes out, and it comes out in a DB9 connector that plugs into the old standard serial connectors on your PC, and you can get the information that way as well.
Okay, so that kind of covers the overview, the features of the 3003 and 3003i. So what I'd like to do now is maybe switch over to a different camera angle, and we'll kind of go over maybe some functions at the 3003 with multi-detectors. And we've put a few detectors out here on the table to kind of show you just the multitude of detectors that you can use with this instrument right now. So I believe that any instrument that we make, we can use with the 3003. So it's a very, very versatile instrument. And but I want to take this time right now to let you guys know, hey, start sending us your questions. We're gonna go through this, and then we're gonna open it up to a Q&A for you guys. So go ahead and start shooting those. There is a little bit of a delay, so I want to make sure we get all those questions in and we get them answered in a timely manner. So start sending those to us, and we're going to switch over to a different camera angle now. And the buttons are a little kind of covered up by the camera, but we're going to have those buttons to the side so you can see those as well. So we're going to switch over that, and James, kind of go through a couple of functions there with us.
Okay, as we have on our other 3000 series instruments, we basically have 4 buttons on the main keypad here. In our case, we've got power, units, detector, and we have mode. And so if you want to switch between units, currently this detector is displaying in micro R. Oh, I'm over in integrated mode. I'm going to switch over to rate mode. So this is in MR per hour, and then I can go ahead and switch. And so we can have a single detector connected to it, and we can actually switch back and forth between what units that we want to display for that particular detector. As we switch detectors, you'll notice that the icons over here will change, as well as an LED will illuminate on the screen. So the icons on the LCD and currently is displayed alpha, beta, and gamma, and we select a new detector, and now this one's configured for gamma with CPM and microsieverts per hour. I think that was CPS. And we go to another detector, and this could be counts per minute. Notice that we can also switch back over to the units, and in this case, it's micro rem per hour, and we've got a neutron icon on the screen. So yes, we can work with a neutron detector. We're capable of reaching as low as a 2 millivolt threshold up to approximately 500 millivolts, and our voltage range for the instrument is 300 volts to approximately 2400 volts. So we should be good for most any detector that you want to attach to this. I'll press the detector again, and in this particular case, we've actually configured it for an alpha and beta detector. I have the alpha icon displayed. I can switch over, and the beta icon will now display. We're still getting counts per minute, and I can press it as another feature that's available when you have 2 channels. Notice it says SCA. When you have 2 channels set up with a threshold and a window defined for each channel internal to the instrument, we have the opportunity to get a 3rd unit, and in this case, this is alpha plus beta. So we would actually display that on the screen. As available for the modes, we can press the mode button. We're currently in a rate mode. We're in the max. Max is indicated in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Max will also appear on your screen if you hit the maximum value for your detector that your detector's been calibrated to. So if your detector is calibrated to 1 R per hour, the screen will get to 1 R per hour, will flash, and it'll flash max to let you know that you've hit the limits of those capabilities for that instrument. So it depends upon whichever detector that you have configured. We also can go to a scalar count. In this case, I have a scalar count that's set up for 1 second. If I don't want to do 1 second, this is a user programmed count time. So the user put in that they'd like to set up a count time of 1 second. But we have some count times available that is inside, and by pressing and holding the log button for 2 seconds, 3 beeps, it will actually switch over. And in this case, it's going to display a 0 now on the screen. And a 0 just means a continuous count. It's not going to time out. And we press it again for 2 seconds, and now I've got a 6-second count that's set up. And here I've also got the capability in this particular mode, in scalar mode, advantages of ACK reset and the log button. If I press the ACK button, it will actually start my scalar count, and at the end of it, it will display it. Now, if you had data logging set up and you're in mode 1 and you're happy with this count, then you can press the log button 1 time, and it will actually log that and display that it is logged it. In our case, it logged it into record number 5, again, 1,000 records. Or if you want to, you can press and hold this, we'll reset it. And now we can just hit the log button, and then it will still do our 6-second count, but at the end, it will automatically log it to our instrument. Now we're at mode 6. And finally, we have the integrate mode. INTG will appear in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. And again, we have units available for that as well. so in this case, alpha, beta, and alpha plus beta. And finally, if you want to get to the internal detector, the detector button, if you press and hold it for 3 beeps, it will switch over to the internal detector, and in this case, it immediately switched over to the integrate mode. And so you can still press a mode button to get over to rate if you want to do a rate, a max, or if you want to do a scalar count, you can do that with the internal detector as well.
Okay, we do have a few questions rolling in, so we're gonna hit a few of these right now. What is the minimum input sensitivity and max high voltage?
Again, max high voltage is 2400 volts. So we set it for 300 volt to 2400 volt, and with a sensitivity of 2 millivolt to 500 millivolt. It's about the maximum we can push that.
Okay. Is there a way to record where the instrument collected data? Press a button to start recording in a specific area?
Yes, that's data logging mode 2. And so what will happen is, well, in that particular case, when you log a record, it will actually log it to the location that will pop up on the screen. You can change the location on the fly. In data logging mode 3, where it's auto logging every so often, if you've got it set up to log every minute or so, it actually logs to a location, and that location is actually stored inside the instrument and can be changed through the setup menu. You can go into the setup menu, go find that location and change the location, and from then on, any logs that come in will actually be logged to that new location.
Okay, does this device allow for hot probing, meaning changing different detectors while the instrument's still on?
Yes, you can go ahead and change detectors when it's still on. I recommend, disconnect your current detector, switch to the detector on the screen that you want to pick, and then plug in your new detector. We've color coded the detectors on here as a red, yellow, green, and blue, and we'd color code the detectors that go with it, so that way you know when the blue LED is flashing, then or is illuminated, then you want to use the detector that was color coded blue as well.
Can you change, depending on the detector, can you measure micro R while measuring gamma, or is it only in millisieverts? Or, I mean, and I'm assuming that's in calibration. We can calibrate too.
You can turn around and calibrate it to a number of different levels. The important thing to remember is for a particular detector setting, you only have one high voltage setting. For that one detector setting, you can actually have 2 channels, which means you can set up a threshold and a window for that particular channel. And so whenever you switch the unit button, the units that displayed on the screen can be tied to a particular channel. So that's why with an alpha and beta, we can configure channel 1 as our beta channel and channel 2 as our alpha channel. And then when we configure the units, we configure unit 1 for our beta, and we can configure unit 2 for our alpha, and then we can switch between those. But you can set different threshold and different window. You can have 2 of those per detector, but the high voltage is going to remain the same.
Yeah, that's the one thing to remember. Any of the 3000 series instruments, you're going to have 2 different units displayed on each detector. So it on the 3000, it'll be, you can do a CPM and MR per hour or micro R per hour, depending on how many.
Right, or if you wish, we can just disable. We've shipped a few instruments and we just disabled it. They just wanted 1 unit, and so pressing the unit button doesn't really do anything because only 1 unit is available.
Okay, another one here. If used with the 4393 alpha beta detector, how can it be switched from alpha to beta channels?
That's what I was showing on the screen right now, because we've currently got it as an alpha beta. Let's get you out and let's get you back over into rate. And so we're currently, by pressing the mode, we got over into the rate screen, and we're currently displaying a beta. And by the unit button, at that point, the unit button is more of an alpha beta button as opposed to being a unit button. It's just because of how we ended up configuring the instrument. So in this particular case, we've configured this unit for beta, and when we press it again, now we've gone to another unit, which is an alpha plus beta, and then pressing the unit button one more time, we can actually get back to the alpha. And we can set up alarms on alpha, on beta, and what will happen is you can be viewing the alpha screen and get an alarm on the beta, and it will switch over and switch back to what is currently being displayed on the screen. And it'll appear in 2-second increments. So you get a beta alarm, it'll switch over to the beta channel, it'll flash, let you know that there's an alarm condition, show that for 2 seconds, and then bounce back to your alpha screen. And it'll continue to do that. You can acknowledge the alarm, silence the tone, but it'll let you know that you have had another alarm in the background.
Okay, we got, can one of the handle buttons be programmed to switch between alpha and beta? Just makes it easier to switch while holding the meter in one hand and the probe in the other.
Yes, that is one of the features that we're getting ready to implement into the instrument shortly by setting up all of these different buttons and different features. We've been able to free it up so that way we can program any particular button for any particular feature. So right now, while it's kind of built into the instrument, we don't have software capability yet, and so we've got to develop a software interface so that way we can go in and reassign the alpha beta kind of unit to the handle.
Okay. Let's see. Will this style of meter be offered with an intrinsically safe version soon?
I believe we are working on an intrinsically safe version. I think, matter of fact, the 3014, which is going to be coming out here soon, I believe we're working on an intrinsically safe 3014, and it's essentially the same instrument, just limited to 1 external detector as opposed to 4. And I think we stripped neutron information out of it. So
yeah, I know there's a couple instruments that we're looking at possibly doing some intrinsically safe testing on. It
Right.
does take a lot of testing, and we're trying to kind of narrow it down to see what instruments that we want to add to that intrinsically safe. Annual calibration cost, we'll have to get with you. You have to check with your local representative. That's something I'm not for sure on right now, but we can get you that information. This question's a little, maybe a 2-part question here. The 3003 max display range seems to be much higher than the 3002 or 3000. I'd like to know what testing or confidence in results, pulse pilot, pulse shaping with the 4393 detector have been completed. Let's see. And then the model 3014 seems to be slimmed down, 2-channel, 1 internal. 3003 with the only exception of display units, missing rim and rim per hour, yet includes updated. Let's see. Sorry, I'm having trouble. This screen is so little. Those questions there, I would definitely get back to you on those. We're still working those details out.
Well, let me make a comment on that. A lot of the information that we have published is we've published that this particular instrument has the capability of going up into the meg. The other instruments that we have, the 3000, 3001, they're limited to 999K counts per minute, and we have the ability to go up into the meg. That's what the display limits are. So we can actually display 999 million counts per minute. But that doesn't mean that every detector is going to be able to do that. Each detector is calibrated for a particular range. 4393, we were just talking about that. I know I'll have to find out the test data. Our test lab has been doing some test data on it, and we have gotten well over 1 million counts, I believe, for that instrument, just to make sure. And we've kind of set up a limit, I think, of 10 million. I think is the limit that they set up for the initial configuration for that. So that may be up to 10 million counts per minute with daytime correction.
Okay. Let's see. Threshold and windows are set with software, I assume. Calibration of the hardware is done separately with Ludlum software available to purchase.
Yes, you can. If you really want to work with it, we have added the thresholds, the windows, the high voltages into the setup menu that is accessible from inside the instrument. And what I have kind of done is tried to make it a little bit easier to access. Normally, to get into our setup menu, you power on the instrument, and in the first 4 seconds, you have to press a button 3 times, and it throws you into a setup menu. And then once you exit out of the setup menu, so you'd make a threshold or window adjustment, you take a reading, you need to make another adjustment again, you now have to power the instrument off and back on again. So I tried to shortcut it a little bit. I've added the, with the on-off button, if you press and hold it for 3 seconds or 2 seconds, it'll start to count down from 3. And once it hits 3, if you let it go, then we can press the program button 1 time. And as soon as you press that, within the first 4 seconds after the screen comes back up, you go into the setup menu. And the same thing is on power up. As the instrument is powering up, as the screens are displaying, if you're ready to go into the setup menu, you don't have to sit there and wait for the screen. As the screens come up, just press the program button once. When it comes up, then it'll go into the setup menu. After you're done in your setup menu, you can exit back out of it, take your reading, and then if you need to make a change, press and hold the on-off button again. When it starts to count down, let it go and press the program button. So with a little bit of work, I know our trainer, the person who's been doing some training, as well as a person who's been doing some testing of it, has been actually doing some calibration with the instrument without the software, just to make sure it's comfortable for them to be able to do that.
Okay. Is the body grounded as not to have a static discharge?
It's coated internally, and then therefore is grounded. Well, we have a support, an aluminum support inside the instrument that supports the board and the handle, and then that support has aluminum standoffs that go down to the can, and then the can is shielded. And so we've done electrostatic discharge testing on it and make sure that we're compliant to everything that we need to be compliant to. So it should be good, including the screws, mounting screws on the side of it, as well as the screws that are on the front of the instrument that cover the USB.
Okay. Can a window and threshold be set to the same value to allow, for instance, a single detector setup for neutron to display rem per hour with one channel and CPM with the other?
You only have to set up one channel. And so when you go in, if you wanted to set, you said rem per hour and CPM, you can go in and set up unit 1 as your rem per hour channel. And then you just say, I'm going to use channel 1 in the hardware. And then you can go over to unit 2 and set it up. And then you can turn around and tell it that you're going to still use channel 1. So each unit does not have to go to a specific channel. You've configured the unit, you say which channel that you want to use, you use that channel, and then you can switch back and forth. So you're physically using the same hardware channel, and it's just displaying in two units.
Okay. Can the instrument be used with one detector 4393 for americium beryllium, one detector 442 for gamma, one for Priscilla, in addition to the 4th detector, internal GM as number 4?
The internal GM detector is actually its own detector. It comes in as detector memory 5. So you do have 4 external detectors and an internal detector. So we can actually ship it with 4 detector configurations external in addition to the internal detector.
Okay. Retail price on this one, we're definitely going to refer you to your sales representative. We can get you quotes on these. We're also working at getting some demo units worked up that we want to get in your hands so you can play with these things. So all that stuff, definitely I would contact your sales representative, and we can definitely get you that information. Let's see, that looks, is there any more questions out there? At this time, do we have are we able to do a source check or anything with that right now?
I mean, we can actually go to our internal detector. I don't have a cable available to plug it to, and I haven't, configured it specifically for any detector. But as you can see, I'm just on the integrated dose, and it's just running on the detector. I'm just looking to see if you can still see that. And then I can switch over to a rate, and it's just pulling in counts on the internal detector. And so now, even if we switch back, let's switch over. So we're at 192, 194 micro R. So 195 at the time, and I switch over, and then I can go back internal. And you can see the counts had already increased. So the internal detector is still running. It's still recording your accumulated dose internal to it, even though we're actually looking at an external detector. And so it's always running for you.
Can you lock the menus? Is there a menu lock function?
For doing the setup, yes. If you want to go into the setup, but if you want to for just the menus or configuring the instrument itself, you'd want to minimize what's actually being displayed. I mean, if you just want it as a rate instrument, we can disable max rate, scalar count, and integrated dose on the external detector, and we could just have an integrated dose on the internal detector, and there's no mode buttons to switch back and forth. So you can thin it down as little as you want, or use it as extravagantly as you want.
Can you mention the SCA function for peaking?
The SCA function, internal in this instrument, what we've done is we've set up a threshold and a window for a particular channel. And what we've defined for our SCA is we've actually set it up so that if you have an actual threshold value and an actual window value, then the instrument will display the SCA to let you know that it has a windowed value. If you just wanted an unlimited value above your discriminator level, then the SCA would not display. That way you would know that that particular unit showing that particular channel has not been peaked. It's just been set up for open, anything above your discriminator level.
Then we had a question asking when the factory's going to be reopened for visits. That's something that we really want. Sweetwater's done a pretty good job of being safe, and here at Ludlum we're doing the same. Trying to social distance, wear our mask when we're out of our office and things like that. So if you know anything about Ludlum Measurements, the customers are so important to us. We love having people come and check out our facility, because to me it's second to none. It's pretty amazing what all we do here in our little small town, 10,000 people, and all the manufacturing done right here. So we are still doing a few training classes. So we'd love to have you come do some training, and we could get you, tours and things like that. So I don't think we're going to kick you out if you come over and see us, but yeah, we are trying to be really safe and do our part to not spread the coronavirus. So, we have one coming in. Can the 3003i be used with an internal scintillation detector too, rather than the GM detector?
Yeah, we haven't set it up yet, but we were looking at it. We had I think we had a 3/4 cesium iodide that we could put into the instrument. I think it'll fit, and it'll definitely be no problem for the high voltage board that's internal to it. And so as the need arises, we'll get it all implemented.
Okay. I don't see any other questions coming in. We're right at that 40-minute mark, and I just, I want to thank you guys for joining us again today. These webinars are fun. They're very informative. I learn a lot from them. I know that, and we hope that you're learning a lot too. Like I said in the beginning, if there's something that we didn't dive into on this instrument specifically, just because it is a pretty complex unit, definitely send us an email to the training@ludlums.com, and we can work on, getting some other training videos. It's like I said, we're so excited that you decided to join us. We know you guys are busy, and this is kind of our way to do these things during the COVID times now, and we're ready to get out there and travel. We're ready to see you guys. We love our customers. So if you guys need any information on the 3003 or 3003i, definitely send us an email to either your sales representative or to sales@ludlums.com. And again, thank you guys for joining us. James, thanks for the information. Thank you for all your hard work on this instrument, and we know it's going to be a good one. So as of right now, we're going to sign off, but thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you again on the next one. Thanks.
Thank you.